Oh yeah, we're in it, Fit. What's going on, man?
Hey,
Welcome back.
welcome. Welcome to all who are joining here today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I am doing really well. I'm excited for our show. I'm actually excited for this month concept just to build like secure relationships. I feel like when couples have secure relationships, there's a lot that can go well, even whenever there's challenges. And so I'm looking forward to that too. So yeah, excited about it. Excited about it. And then in life in
Yeah.
general, for me, things are moving too. My son got
Well,
two. My son was. They had an award assembly, and they kept calling my son. And as a dad sitting there, then I'm like, "That's my boy." I try to do it really quietly and reserved, but
mm,
he's
but you
he's
still have that energy where you're just like,
yeah,
that, you
yeah.
know what I mean? You're clenching your fist. You feel like,
Yeah, every time
yeah.
your kids do something where you're like, amazing. And meanwhile, my almost 6 month old is sitting in the stroller, nice and quiet for a whole hour assembly, and I'm like, man, I've been so lucky with these kids.
Uh-huh.
So, anyways, yeah, we're making it happen over here, and I'm excited about it. All good things. What's been going on with you?
Everything all at once. Like you were just saying, that life, speaking life, and that's what it's about, speaking life and
Yeah,
really experiencing life.
yeah,
Taking the fruit of life and squeezing every drop of juice, and it kind of goes into our word of the day, which is later,
yeah, yeah. They
right?
don't get
But
that right now. Yeah, you guys don't get that right now. You guys stick around. I love how you plug that.
Mhm. but I mean,
Mhm.
let's just say being able to enjoy life, right? Because so many times we get these situations where it prevents us from enjoying our life the way we want to,
Mhm.
so right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we let's get into a little bit. And speaking of family, like that, it kind of goes with it. And my wife came to me the other day, and I didn't. It was before we designed this show here, but or before we designed this episode. But I was already thinking, like, man, how do I get better at this scenario? So my wife comes to me with something that she's going through, right? And
Huh?
then when she goes through it, I think there's things that I might hear, and we'll get into that later. But at the same time, I know, and we're far enough in the work that we've done as individuals and as a couple. I know that like she's not trying to like get at me or anything like that. But there's a part of me that wants to be like, "Oh, here's the answer." Like, you're struggling with the puzzle, like, "Here's the answer," right? And
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
fix it
right.
idea, I think, often will make it, hard, at least I know from my perspective, if I'm going to somebody and they're just like, "Well, here's the answer." In fact, that actually just happened to me in a scenario, um, in a different situation where I'm telling somebody like, "Hey, I need this thing." So my request was like, "I just want your take on how to approach this situation." And instead of like coming up with that concept, the person goes into, "Well, here's how you fix the situation," right? And that's two different things, but it was kind of like a put off thing. And obviously that's not my relationship, so it doesn't matter as much. But the idea is sometimes we go to fix it, and even their approach outside of me was like, I'm gonna go find out why this is this way. And that wasn't needed, right? The thing that was needed was, hey, I just want to talk about approaches to be able to get this situation resolved myself. So you kind of miss the mark whenever you automatically go to somebody. I recognize that happening, in different scenarios in my life. And so I think a lot of people think whenever somebody's talking to you, they need you to make some kind of correction in order for you guys to be able to actually like figure things out, and for you to be helpful to them means
Mhm.
goodness, and it doesn't actually always mean goodness. There's something else that does, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you have any scenarios, not that you have to, and I hate to put you on the spot, but any other scenarios that you knew you were going to bring up as far as like situations where it's like it comes to like that fix it or
Mhm.
really like just kind of listen kind of scenario?
Well, first of all, don't come up in here lying and say you hate to put me on the spot, because you love to put me on the
Always do
spot.
it. I
You
always
love,
do
you love- don't give me that. All right. Putting me on the spot here.
it.
I just remember when one thing that I remember so much is one of my first coaches taught me about listening. Just
Mhm.
try to just listen. See if you can just listen
Yeah.
and not try to give them your what I would do,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
just sit there and try to listen. And when I learned that and began applying that in my relationships, because it's not so easy, it takes a practice,
Mhm.
but it it's it's so much easier for you because you're trying to help them.
Yeah.
But the best way to help them is to show them how to help themselves in that moment, maybe just helping them process just by being an ear to listen. Because even by expressing yourself and having someone there to listen to you, when you say it out loud, it's almost like the other person doesn't even need to say anything. Sometimes they just sit there and yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just that right there, and just
Makes a difference.
don't try to give your what I would do.
Mhm. Yeah, and so it's everywhere in life. Like you said, you learn that through coaching, just for what you want to do in work. I'm telling people like, hey, there was actually a different scenario, in my hobby stuff, and then in my life, it's everywhere. There's a listener actually that had a question, which is it's kind of a question. I tell my partner how I feel, but it always turns into a debate. And what they want to know, here's the question is, how do I make them understand without arguing? And so I'll go first at this because I think this is kind of where the trouble happens. And there is a fix for it. I don't know how far we should go into the fix, but yeah, let's just go into it because it all work together. So I tell my partner how I feel. So understand this is the first part. When we say something about feelings, depending on how another person has healed or is dealing with or doesn't deal with feelings, they may go like this or like this. The only other option is they wrap their arms around you like emotionally, and that's kind of what we're working on this month is to get to that, right? But a lot of times, just based on it being a feeling, could start creating some of that response scenario because of the mixture of what the feeling is and what the other person has experienced. Okay, so that's the first thing is like we need to be aware of that. Is like if I go to tell my partner how I feel, feelings start creating an energy that matches with whatever wherever that person is at. So if I haven't dealt with my stuff and your feelings show me something, then it's going to be a certain kind of reaction. If your feelings are showing something and I've dealt with my stuff, then it's going to be a different kind of reaction, right? So that's the first thing. The second part of that is a lot of times when we're saying how I feel, there's something else included with that, which is I feel this way and you need to fix it, is the suggestion that I'm accidentally making whenever I'm expressing my feeling. And again, if somebody's done their work, they could hear past that. If somebody hasn't done their work, they only hear one thing, right? And so I think that's important. So here's the question: how do I make them understand without arguing? It's the making them understand that creates the hardship, right? Because if I'm trying to get somebody to see it, understand it, we could be way far away from that. But if I'm just trying to create the expression, everything changes. So I think the more important thing whenever we go to express and we create this in our relationship, because this is really important, is like if I can in my relationship, if I can start being more mindful about like I'm just trying to make an expression and I don't need you to do something different for me to be okay.
Yep.
So the more that I can say, look, I'm feeling this way, and I'm going to say it wrong, or I might say it right, but this is not about me trying to come to you to get it to fix or to do something different. That's not what this is about. I want expression in our relationship a whole lot, and we're going to just keep throwing it out there until we get really good at it. Where A, you don't feel attacked, and B, I'm expressing everything that I need to express. Right. So here's my expression, and then you go at the thing that you're expressing. Man, today you didn't put the tent, the shade up, and now the sun is coming in the house, right? I feel some kind of way about that because I've asked you over and over again. But here's the flip side of my feeling is now I actually recognize that you're busy and it takes a lot of thinking and time, and you need manpower to be able to do that kind of thing, right? So now I can talk through all my things without my partner feeling like she or he is in a bad spot, right? And the more that we're able to do that, and say it all, being transparent and not having that need, everything changes. Now, why does that actually end up helping somebody to understand, even though we can't go for that? Because as long as I can get somebody to put their forearms down or put their fists down, they can open up towards me. They can
Mhm.
receive what it is that's going on, right? So remember, there was a saying that says, like, your influence raises as you start controlling yourself more. So if I'm out of control, if my feelings are where they are, and I say whatever I want to say, and the person's going like this, and trying to do all that, then I don't have control over what's going on. That person feels offended. I don't know. Maybe I said the right thing. I don't know. But if I say, look, this are all the things that are going on for me right now, and I'm trying to sort them out right here in front of you with you. I want to be next to you. You're in
Yeah.
control of yourself. Now you influence. And just so happens because you controlled yourself, the person can hear differently. Oh, my partner's struggling with something. It's easier when somebody else is struggling with something else outside of you. But if you're struggling with me and how I'm doing things, that's a totally different scenario, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
that's a switch over right there that really helps, and it ends in the ability to understand if it's possible. Sometimes there's things that we can't understand, but if it's possible, I can start understanding because I can hear and see things differently. Okay. All right. So key
Mhm.
things, and it's really the close last that last moment, which is like create a scenario for this person who's asking this. How do I make them understand without arguing? Create a scenario where you don't need to make them understand, but where understanding is possible, right? So in order to do that, to create that kind of influence, we have to be able to be in control of ourselves and know what we're doing when we're expressing. Why am I expressing? The reason I'm expressing is to create closeness in my relationship, right? And
Mm.
so I'm not expressing so that I can change the other person or they can know my needs and meet my needs, right? I'm not doing that. I'm expressing because I know that expression is where closeness happens in our relationship. Okay. So those two changes I think will be helpful. Any advice for our listener?
Yes. Go back and listen to where Mr. Isaac right here, Mr. Thomas, was expressing like if like a role play right there. That's what you were doing, right? You were doing a real life demonstration of how to communicate your feelings properly.
Yeah.
And so, and I do mean that quite literally. When you learn how to communicate, how to really express yourself skillfully,
Mm-hmm.
where you know how to set up a conversation. And so if you tell your partner, so you say, hey, can I can I tell you something about how I feel of what happened that has nothing to do with you, and can you just listen to me, and I'm not looking for any advice or anything. Can I just let this out? Can I
Mm-hmm.
just let this out? Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be like, oh, sure, and it may be a little of an adjustment for them because they, even though you tell them that, they may still feel inclined to continue to give advice, right, or
Mm-hmm.
fix it.
Mm-hmm.
But even those prompts, priming the conversation, letting them know, okay, what am I getting myself into? Instead of, hey, can we talk? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, wait, whoa, what do you mean? What's this about? For how long? Where? When? About what? Um, but learning how to really communicate in such a way as to where you're able to, express your emotions to them, and yes, maybe that may be very direct. Maybe if you want to understand them more, maybe one adjustment you can make is working on being more understanding, right? Called mirroring. You
Mm-hmm.
want to mirror the behavior you want from your partner ideally.
Mm-hmm.
And so one way to do that is you go first,
Yeah.
right? You want your relationship more peaceful. You go first. Don't wait for your partner to. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that may not be so easy, right? And that just may be the trick to it, is finding out exactly how to cross that bridge.
Yeah. 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 I love that. Let's do that. Let's flip it over. So we just gave our listener, some advice as far as how to um, get to maybe some understanding without arguing. But our show today, how do I make my partner feel heard and valued? So now what if we're on that receiving end? That's where I feel like it's a good transition right there, is because um, we have to start becoming the thing that we want in our relationship.
Mhm,
So if I'm going to be a person that can listen, I'm going to create that in my relationship. If I'm going to be a person in the relationship that can't listen, I'm going to create that in my relationship. Right? So I have to be the person that I want to. If I want my partner to feel heard and valued, I need to create that space. So as much as we were saying like, hey, sometimes our forearms and our fists go up and we want to fight, in order to change that, we have to get out of that mode of hearing in that way. So every time you feel your defense mechanisms go up, or like you want to run, or somehow you want to change it into a funny scenario, whatever it is that makes you deflect, um, I would say check that, because your partner is coming to you with something probably that's difficult for you. I remember participating in a something called a big, huge anger group. I think it was the title of it. And the start of it, um, our leader would always say like, um, if you feel some kind of way about the thing, like you want to make a joke about it or whatever, you have to check yourself. Like just
mhm.
check into yourself more than anything. Like see what's going on with you about it. Like some things are funny, but there are
Yeah.
certain time when your partner is coming to you and you got an easy fix, and so you think it's laughable, right? And that it's unfair, and it doesn't create that situation where your partner feels valued and heard, right? So I think it's really important for us to be able to say like, look, I can actually create an environment like that by just practicing what's going on, and that starts creating a scenario where my partner kind of feels heard and valued. I think it's important too that we recognize that it's a pattern, and every week, whenever we're doing this show, we talk about trying to break a pattern of what we've been doing and trying to get into something else. And so, I think today, if we can just kind of go down some questions for our audience that will help us be able to answer things that would break the patterns that they have, where they're creating environments that are not conducive to loving on each other, right? So a lot of times we accidentally do that, and I mentioned like sometimes we'll toss out a joke about what somebody's feeling, or sometimes we'll try to minimize it or laugh it off, and it's hard for us, and I think that as people, what we need to understand is that there's a responsibility in the relationship to go higher and not lower,
Mhm.
and so if we're on the receiving end of a person who says like, "Hey, I needed to have a conversation," um, or "This is what's going on for me," well, that's dumb. That can't go on for you because it doesn't make sense, right? That's minimizing. That's not valuing. Valuing would say like, "Man, whatever's going on for you, I really want to challenge myself to be present. I might not be good at it today, but I want to challenge myself to get better in that scenario," right? And so that's the challenge, is for us to be able to figure out how do we break these patterns. And so the first question is, what does being heard actually sound and feel like? And we've kind of gone over a little bit um, uh, of that. But to me, us being heard says that there is going to be, you mentioned mirroring, which I like. And you could do that in a different way in conversation as well, which is like whatever they said, like, hey, let me just clarify. And so this will actually be a theme for all these things to break the pattern, which is curiosity. Curiosity is a game changer, and it's a connection breeder. So the more that we are curious about what's going on with our partner,
Yep.
then everything starts to change. It's whenever you start feeling some kind of way like they're reducing you, that things start going the opposite way. But as soon as you get more curious about what's going on for them, it all changes. What would you say to that, Fit? What does being heard actually sound and feel like?
I'm gonna close my door really quick, but I'm gonna keep talking, and hopefully you can
Okay,
still hear me.
I got you.
But I would say that it feels like whatever you just said, whatever you just expressed, it's all right.
Mhm, mhm.
Like you don't feel judged for it. You don't feel criticized. You don't feel wrong in what you said, how you felt, what happened, your experience.
Yeah.
you don't feel wrong for speaking about it, and ideally you feel supported,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
I took a self-esteem elevation certification course for children, how
Yeah.
to be a self-esteem elevation coach, and I just took that just because I'm a father, and I wanted to learn, and talking about what I learned a lot in there is, valuing what they value,
Mhm.
or at least respecting what they value or honoring what they value. And again, ideally supporting what they value.
Mhm.
And so someone, my friend or a family, anyone, tells me, hey, I want to start being a paper mache expert, and I want to start doing paper mache all the time, projects and things and whatever. And I'll be like, tell me more about it. Whoa,
Mhm.
where did this come from? Whoa, hold up. Let me just stop everything. What was going on? Tell me more about this paper mache stuff,
Yeah.
right? And not all the time, we do that because we're just like we automatically start judging, even, and it's not wrong, it's not bad, but we automatically start judging or criticizing,
Mhm.
and going, well, wait, and that may be, an extreme example, paper macheing, doing something like that, right?
Mhm.
But you get the point of it, in feeling, really feeling heard and seen, as to where, you're whatever you're doing, whatever you got going on, and that's your experience. Hey,
Mhm.
then that's what it is,
Yeah.
and we want to get into other things like empathy. Hey, that's another story, that's something
Mhm.
else, but you know
Love
yeah.
that. That reminds me, you said paper mache. I remember my son used to like Beyblading. I don't know
Okay.
if you know what that is, but it's like a rip cord and then the little top spin, and then they compete against each other. And so
Yeah, okay, yes.
Ian loved it so much, and for me, I'm like, "Beyblade, really?" And that's, like, the last thing I wanna do, but we ended up taking him down to competitions and all that stuff, and, I never had to say, like, "Hey, this is, like, a horrible choice or idea," kinda like what you're saying is, like, you see what they value and you believe in it. I think for a lot of times we do this to our children and our partners in life, and so it's a similar trait, that we have to break a pattern on where they feel some kind of scenario and want to express it and be it, and we might minimize that scenario because we don't know it, right? And so that actually is our next question, which is, why do people often try to fix instead of listen? Why do you think people try to fix instead of listen? So somebody brings something to somebody and they say it. Why do you think they try to fix it instead of just listening?
Because how how you feel makes me feel, and I don't like how it makes me feel. So I want to make you feel different, so I can
Right,
feel different. The way you feel right now making me feel awkward, and I don't like it. Man,
right.
let's just go and just no, you don't need to feel that way.
Yep,
You put
yep,
the wool over the eyes.
yeah.
No, we don't need, right.
Stop saying that.
And,
Stop saying that, right? Yeah. And everything, yep, everything will go away. Yeah, I think that's totally on it. Totally on
yeah, and again, I like how you say, I don't like to use the word wrong,
it.
right?
Mhm,
That's not wrong, right?
mhm,
It's like it's those things that we do. And if you're listening right now, I catch myself doing that too. It's like you're
mm,
not wrong for that.
mhm,
Um, it's just those behaviors that we do, those little cues in our communication. If we really dial into and we can identify and become aware of, then we can really use to transform and evolve and improve and strengthen our relationship.
yeah. Yeah, the purpose of knowing whether whether it's wrong or right is, like, to try to punish, and you will accidentally do that, but knowing the efficient way to get something changes everything, right? So, as an example, um, I can leave my house right now, and Target is south of me, and to get to Target, I can go east, down a mile, and then south, down another mile, and then back west another mile and get there. That's not wrong. I got to Target. There's just a more efficient way to get to the thing that
Mm,
we want to get to. So I could just go down the street south and I'm there, right? So that I think whenever as you guys hear us say like it's not wrong or right, it's not that it's a lot of things that we're doing in life are just part of how we've done things by accident. I'm just habitually going that way, right? But the truth is, there's a more efficient way, and that's what I want everybody to start looking at. Is like, how can I efficiently break these patterns of what's going on, right? And so, the more efficient way to be in interaction to get the results of building a partnership that where people feel valued and heard is for us to be able to be in a place where we can listen more, right? I think another thing that that happens too to make people fix it, and this actually matches pretty much with what you're saying too, as far as like the why. It comes from, we haven't dealt with traumatic scenarios a lot of times. So oftentimes when people bring up a hard emotion, it minimizes you and your feelings. So one partner might say, and this happens all the time in couples therapy, a partner might say like, um, that person's not, my partner is not even considerate or loving enough. So that's what one person's saying, but the other person hears, who has never been good enough in their life. Well, the other person hears, here you go, I'm not good enough again, right? So then that person, and this is where we start creating a relationship in a scenario where nobody can feel heard or valued. So now that person says something or does something, well, you always do X, Y, and Z, right? And because the feeling that came up was like, I've never been good enough. And now here you're saying something to validate that again, right? And so now this person fires back, and now this person can say, like, see, I knew you don't listen. You don't listen. I just want to be loved, right? And so now we have that kind of exchange where there's nothing being resolved. And so I think that a lot of times it's the hooks from whatever we've experienced in life that really kind of create a fix it instead of a listen scenario. So, what simple daily practice helps someone feel valued in conversation? We talked about a couple of these, and for me, I think us being more conscious of like that interaction that we've been describing throughout the show, is like, be more conscious of, you might be putting your fists up and your forearms up. And I would say the daily practice is constantly put those things down. Like constantly, when somebody says something, notice yourself going emotionally, whoop, right? Or
Yeah.
whoop, right? Like just notice yourself emotionally having some kind of thing, and try to bring those both down, and just allow it, whatever they're saying, to hit you in the chest. Just allow it just to hit you in the chest. And you're going to see, this is what's kind of cool in this visualization. You're going to see when you allow these things to hit you in chest, you got it. You got it. Like you're okay. You're okay. No matter how they came to you, no matter what it was, you didn't need to fire back. You didn't have to protect yourself. You're fine. Let it hit you in the chest. I'm not even saying wrap your arms around that person yet. I'm saying like, whatever you go to guard yourself with, allow it to come in. And you're going to see you're just fine. You're just fine. And you've always been just fine, right? So I think that's one tool that I would give. You have any other tools that you would give?
Yeah. Man, I just had one and it just escaped me. I was listening to you. So when I
This.
listen to you, I'm taking mental notes and I'm just like, yeah. But see, that's just it though, the active listening. And that's something that I teach. And I'm a very good, you're an advocate for it too, is the listening and the communication, right?
Mhm, mhm,
And not listening to judge, interpret,
mhm,
assume. Try to do that. Actually, I to all who are here, I
mhm,
challenge you today to go a full day without judging anyone. And you're like, judge anyone? Talking
mhm.
about them? Judge anyone? We do every day. We
We
just
do.
don't notice
Right.
that we're judging that person. We're judging.
Yep.
And a great way is, and so, universal law, right? If you want it for you, then you go first. And so if you want your partner to listen to you more, listen to them more.
Mhm,
And whatever it is, again, like the mirror we were talking about earlier, practice being non-judgmental to whatever they express to you or
mhm.
to anyone, everyone.
Yeah.
Practice that and just listen to understand, listen to gain insight. There's 12 different listening styles that we have, right? That us as human beings can have 12 common ones, and one of them is listening to what is it, uh, agree or disagree.
Mm,
And so instead of what we do is, instead of listening to really just gain insight, to really see where they're coming from, to really feel them,
mhm,
we're listening. Okay, let me see if I agree with this or not. We go like that. We go like this, and then we go, see
mhm,
if I, right
mhm,
here, see if I, right. And so the whole time we're listening to them, but we're not listening to understand them. We're just listening to agree or disagree. And then in the event that we agree, great. But the event that we don't, well, sorry, I don't agree with that. Nothing else I can do,
mm.
you know. But yeah, being very open in going first, and realizing that about first, and not being non-judgmental first. And so a lot of the things, like, and you teach that too in your relationship. If you want your partner to improve in that area in your relationship, improve that relationship with you first.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. I think that'll be super useful for you guys to just kind of try that on, and then we also have we'll give you guys a reset to really help you in a second. So we want to kind of flip over our game, and our game today is going to be fix it or feel it.
Hold on,
So
before we continue with the game, why is everybody so quiet in here today? I mean, is the
you see
microphone,
people,
what is going on? Where, I mean, can I get a hello, a hey, what's up? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Anyone, where you
we
coming in
see
from?
people
I'm here in
looking.
Nevada. Mm-hmm.
People might be at work sneaking on here to talk
Oh
to us.
yeah,
So,
that's true.
so yeah, they might be at work. Some people work around here.
Okay,
Um,
but yeah,
so
if you guys
so
have any questions, we're more than happy.
we are, and that's fun. Honestly, that's what I love. Our last month, I was telling our audience, our last month meetup was really cool to be able to have conversations with a few people that were in there, and get really closer to what their scenarios were. And so, yeah, definitely want to plug that. You guys like, make sure you guys get signed up. We'll make sure we put a, a, a link, I guess, in the chat for that. Heidi says
There we
hi.
go. Heidi. Yep,
There we
Heidi's
go.
been all
Brave,
right. There we go.
brave. Welcome
It
in,
just charged me right there. Seeing that just charged me. You know what I'm saying? I feel rejuvenated right here. So let's
Heidi.
go.
All right, here it is. Let's go. Can we get him? My boss yelled at me today. Is that a fix it or feel it?
Don't ask me that, okay?
You're the first one. You're up. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you're up, Fit.
Yeah, okay. So don't ask me that, because that triggers me. For me, that I've walked out on jobs because of being yelled at, right?
so, so doesn't that bring up a good, like, that makes it's difficult, right? Even though we might know a certain answer or want a certain answer, like, it's difficult to do different things. But is that a good
Hmm.
idea that you walked out, or was it a bad idea? No good or bad, but was it efficient?
Could have been more efficient. Definitely could have been more efficient, but if I hadn't, right? So I'm firm with the belief in trusting yourself and the decisions you make, right? Successful people don't make the right decisions, they make the decisions they make right. So I made that decision right.
Mhm,
And what I learned and took from that was, hey, how I ideally want my life is not someone who can just yell at me and treat me however they want to treat me. And I guess, have to take it because I need money and they're paying me. No, I want to create a life for myself, where I work for myself, where, well, what I'm doing now. And before that was, a dream back then. And it
mhm,
was a long time. It did took a long time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
mhm,
A lot of times where I wanted to quit,
mhm,
but I
yeah,
got there. And so I guess the learning lesson is, sometimes it takes a whole lot of getting what you don't want to find what you do want. And that might just lead you to what you really do desire.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I would go fix it.
Mm,
But my fix it
yeah.
wouldn't be at my boss. I like how you fixed it, Fit. So, like, for me, my fix it is, yeah, we're not, that's not how we're going to talk to each other at work. It's not what's going on. It's not how we're doing it. I don't have control over you, but I'm definitely not going to sit here and feel it. All right. So, yeah, that's a different kind of scenario, but everybody could be different. And I don't think that somebody having a different answer would say that it's, a bad one. You never help around the house. Ooh, I'll go first on this one. I think husbands, beware. You need to start feeling it. You need to start feeling it, and then you need to go fix it. No, so here's the thing is I do think that there needs to be some connection around what's going on. Like if somebody's saying that to their partner, I think you have to understand more of what's going on, like what is really being said, because nobody really needs help around the house. The houses don't even need anything, right? What it really is like it's probably a couple things. I feel alone. I feel overwhelmed, right? And so are we hearing those things? And to me, in order to get to hearing those things, you got to feel what that person is really saying to you instead of hearing what they're saying and trying to go fix it. Okay, well, here, I'm going to go do the dishes then. Or here, I'm going to go pull the weeds outside, or whatever the scenario is. I'm going to go do this with you. That's not what the real request is. That might be the immediate request, but then when that gets taken care of, there's going to be another thing. Why? Because you didn't really feel what was going on. The feel what was going on would have said like, look, as a partner, I feel lonely. As a partner, I feel like I'm overwhelmed, right? As what we're disconnected because I don't feel like that the house needs something different than what it's getting right now, right? So there's a lot of different things underlying that. And if you're not feeling it, then you're going to be in a hard spot. What about for you? Fill or fix? You never help around the house. Fill or fix?
So I or my partner doesn't.
Let's say that you are told that you never help around the house.
All right. Yeah.
Should
And
you
so
fill
for
it or
me,
fix it?
yeah. So feel it. And I always do right. I always do this. I don't play by the rules. Feel it, feel it and fix it. Uh,
Yeah.
growing up as a child, that was my mother was very big on chores.
Mm,
Get your chores done. And
mhm.
housework is, uh and for me it just became a habit, right?
Yeah.
To do the dishes. Um, but it's funny, like let's relate this to communication, and this may be a little bit off, but right. So
Mhm,
to know what your partner is saying when they're not saying it
mhm,
verbally.
mhm,
So my mother, when she would do the dishes, and she was doing the dishes loudly. She was slamming some dishes. You know, "Oh, mom's upset about something. It's time. Best thing to do right now. What can I clean? I'm gonna start
mhm,
cleaning something right now."
mhm,
And so, without knowing it, I learned how to see what my mom was saying
mhm,
without her saying it. How she was saying, I'm upset right now. Maybe there's a lot of pressure. That's later on. Back then, I was just like, "Hey, oh, mom's upset. Clean
yeah,
the room, clean my
mhm,
room, clean something."
right,
But learning how to take those cues. But going back to the whole scenario of my partner is telling me that I don't clean, or I don't, support them in the house chores or
mhm,
whatever it may be.
mhm,
And for me, ideally how you want to communicate that is definitely honor it
yeah,
and say, you know what? Okay, talk to me more about that. Which ones exactly is it? Or, am I not doing them correctly? Do you feel like I'm not doing them at all? What's going on?
yeah,
Right. And honoring it and finding out exactly what it's about. Because if your partner is getting mad about the dishes and they explode on you because you didn't do the dishes, you didn't load the dishwasher, whatever it was, realize that it's not about the dishes.
mhm,
And if you can find out what it's really about, then that's what it is, right? That's the gold. And so it's not about that you didn't do the dishes, it's about how you not putting the dishes away made me feel,
yeah,
right? And so that's why it's important to not make it so much about the dishes or the chores, rather than, okay, well then when I do that, when that happens, how does that make you feel? Because you're right. Yeah, you're gonna go, okay, whoa, sorry. You're upset I didn't do the dishes. I go to the dishes and my partner's still upset. Why? Because it's
mhm,
not about the dishes.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah. I think that's a huge concept. It kind of goes with the next one too, which is, let's say that your partner says, "I don't feel attractive anymore." Would you try to fix it or feel it?
That's definitely something you do not fix. Oh, because that was right. Um, support them in that. like just gain that understanding and feel it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because what we want to do is go, no, what are you talking about? You're this, you're that, and everything. And it's kind of like you don't get it when you do that.
Yeah.
So an example of someone going, hey, how you doing? And the other person says, you know what? I had a bad day. And the other person says, well, don't worry about it. Next day will be better.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You really don't see me. You
Mm-hmm.
really don't care.
Yeah.
Um, but
So
yeah,
that's
taking that extra. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I feel like in my mind, and I could totally be wrong about this, but I feel like as men, us having this conversation, it might go differently than if we were women. But I also think this is that there are ways for us as people in general to um, help each other to feel more secure in the relationship in different ways, including, feel more attractive to each other. And so I think there's at some rate, there is some responsibility in being able to fix. But again, with our other scenarios that we're looking at, we're both saying like there's a lot of feeling that we have to do whenever somebody's expressing hardness or hardship to you. Instead of you going to feel like, oh, I need to go fix it right now, I need to start saying more words of affirmation or let them know they're beautiful. Like that's not necessarily the thing. Like there's a lot of different situations that will go on. Go ahead.
Maybe it's, you know, discovering how they'd like to fix it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
in how we can help them to fix it,
Yeah.
or not fixing it for them, but then helping them to discover how they can fix it is how what would be perhaps our responsibility in that, or
Hmm.
our role in the fix,
Yeah.
or can be a way of going about it.
Yeah. I love that fit because it really comes down to like, am I gonna get defensive or am I gonna be empathetic? Right? Like, am I gonna be like, well, that's not my fault that you don't feel attractive, or or like, if you would just do this, then you'd be attractive, or me saying it more, that'll make you more attractive. Instead of us just going to that and kind of belittling the thing, like the goal is to figure out how can I be more empathetic? How can I listen more? How can I hear more? How can I ultimately be? And I wish everybody will write this down, this word. How can I be more curious? Right? Like, what is that for you? Right? How can I be more curious? Remember that curiosity is the breeding ground of connection. Right? And the more curious we are, and it has to be real curiosity. It can't be some other fluff. It has to be curiosity. Then connection
Genuine
starts.
curiosity.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. So let's give everybody a reset so that they have a way of doing things differently. And this is the listen to understand challenge that we're going to give everybody. And the first thing that I will say is maintaining eye contact. So I think
Mm.
that's a really important thing that we kind of lose out on. And I would say lock in with somebody as much as possible. And in different scenarios you kind of get that, like you understand that, but sometimes when hard conversations are starting to happen, you lose it or you drop it, and you want somebody to know like, I'm listening to understand, and so I could actually, I'm not going off into somewhere other place, like, or I'm not rolling my eyes at you, or I'm not thinking like, hey, what you're saying is not important. Like, I'm locking in, like I want to see you. Right. And so the eye contact and maintaining the eye contact to me says in action, hey, I really want to see you. I really want to
Mhm.
see you as much as possible. So I think that's a huge deal. You want to hit them with number two with the second um, step there.
Uh-oh, lost it.
I got
Where
you.
do we go?
And
Repeat
then,
what
yeah, you got it.
you heard before replying. And so that right there is very validating that you understand. And that's like a trick that I learned early on in life,
Hmm.
that if you what you can do, I mean, not a trick, right? But I mean, it kind of is, but you're being genuine about it is the key. But just sitting there listening and repeating what somebody says, repeating what your partner said or is saying, just by simply doing that,
Hmm.
it gives you time to process, and it also helps them to feel heard in
Mhm.
that moment, and it's so very validating. And if you just sat there and listened to somebody and just yeah, and just repeated everything that, and then they told you that, oh, and then what you do, oh wow, and you just ask questions and repeated what they just said,
Mhm.
they're gonna feel like nobody understands them more than you,
Yeah. Yeah, for
just
sure.
by
Yeah.
because they you're listening. And if you're going and you can't repeat what they have to say, what they just said, without listening. So that's
Mhm.
going to help you as well. Try to
Yeah.
repeat what they just had to say, not to repeat it, but so to process it,
Yeah.
to really validate, and just yeah.
Yeah. And that is the next part, which is for us to be able to validate the emotion, which kind of happens whenever we're able to say what their experience is. And part of us saying is not, and you guys need to know this because if you robot this scenario, it won't go well. So if you just go to repeat, be like, that's what Thomas and Fitz said to do, then you're going to be in a bad situation. But from your heart, if you're like, okay, wait, so this is what's going on, that's a curiosity, right? And again, curiosity breeds connection. So they are saying like, um, okay, this is what I heard right here. I just want to make sure it's clear. I'm not calling it wrong. This is what you're saying. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Or no, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, I need to I want to kind of lock in on what you're saying, right? And then, can you give it to me again? So that's really helpful because you're really being curious, right? And then if with that, if you can validate the emotion that is going on. Like, and sometimes you can't announce the emotion before the other person does. So you can't be like, oh, that must really be sad when they're like, doesn't bother me, right? So you missed it because you weren't listening, right? Like, so instead you say, so what's connected to that? Or like what are you experiencing because of that? You know, and I think the more that you ask that question, again, curiosity, the more you're curious with that, you can say, like, okay, like I get that because seeing things that way and knowing things that way, I mean, I feel the same way about it. Matter of fact, I'm with you on this situation, Um, and that really is helpful for us whenever we're able to validate the emotion before we're trying to say, like, oh, well, you should do this to make sure it goes well. Or oh, you should do this to make sure it doesn't feel that way, or just feel this or just say this. And then now we'll go. We don't even need to come up with that solution if we can just be connected through curiosity and being able to validate whatever emotion is there. Okay. So I think those 3 steps, you guys, will help you to really kinda hit the reset button and start creating a place where people feel valued and heard in the relationship. You guys kinda already know this, but because I announced it earlier, but make sure that you get signed up when we put our next meeting. We'll make sure we have a link for you guys to get signed up to our meetup afterwards. And so it's all about us being able to do things that mean like, can we have a safer environment and relationship? Okay. All right.
Amy
Word of
Amy
the
was in the Amy was in the chat real quick. Just wanted to talk about validation. Wanted to
Mhm.
validate her comment right here, and she says, "Lack of validation is one of the biggest roadblocks in recovery, alongside with a lack of empathy."
Mhm.
A
Yeah.
lack of empathy in recovery, especially, she may be referencing betrayal,
Okay.
right? So, what is like more even insulting, more just everything, right? Just than being betrayed and then feeling like the person that betrayed you isn't even sorry about what they've done, or that you get feelings that,
Yeah.
based on how they communicate or what they say or what they do. And
Hmm.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
empathy is very big. Yeah.
Empathy is big, and empathy is knowing how somebody else feels, you guys, or not necessarily knowing, but being able to feel how somebody else feels, right? And so, to the best of your ability, you got to get curious to be able to get there. You can't assume. Assuming will take you away from empathy. Oh, well, they feel this. They're sad about that, right? That takes you away from empathy. Curiosity says, "Hey, what's going on for you in that scenario?" Right? And then that moves you back towards being empathetic. Okay. So word of the week. So Fit, you were keeping it away from them last time. You want to give it to them now?
Yes,
At
I'll
the
give it to
beginning
you.
of
Finally,
you
give it
guys
to you.
been waiting the whole show for this because Fit put a plug in early on, like, hey, this matches with our word of the week.
You see, I feel power. I feel I have power now. I have information to be to be revealed, but I will use I shall use it for good.
Yeah.
And the word is presence.
Mhm.
Not talking about the kind you wrap
Mm-mm.
and give,
Mm-mm. Not
right?
in
The holidays
TS.
are coming.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
talking about being here
Yep.
now.
That's right. Yeah. Word of the week is presence, you guys. And to me, like that's going to give you the ability to be um, in these moments and listen differently. So think about this. If I'm so caught up in what I've been through in life, that I'm not present. But it will create a scenario where I do forearms and fists because I'm so caught up on what I've been through in life, right? And now I'm going to struggle with significance, control, and abandonment because I'm caught up with what I've been through in life. But if I'm present, then I can hear who's in front of me. If I'm present, I can build a relationship right now. If I'm so worried about like what's going to happen down the line because I know what's happened in the past, I won't be able to have this conversation right now. So it's so important for me to lock into what's in this moment and just do this moment well, or just do this moment so that I can get better and get to a place where I can do it well. And the more that we can focus on that, what's right now, what's present, and we can be present in this moment, everything changes. Everything changes. Okay.
And a good little tip that I like to give for being present is when you catch yourself drifting from the conversation, or no longer listening to your partner or whatever, just recommit. Right
Mhm.
when you notice, recommit and lock into what they are saying
Right.
and continue to do that. And over time, you recondition your brain's reaction timing to shorten, and then it raises your awareness so that you are more engaged in the conversation, so you don't allow yourself to drift, because your brain is already trained to bring yourself back, so it's trying to memorize that pattern and fix it, and uh, build you more efficiently. And so, you know,
Mhm.
that helped me a lot in
Yeah.
recommitting, re-engaging, locking back in and staying locked in. And like you were saying, that eye contact,
Mhm.
really being in there. And when you're making that eye contact, be aware if there's a conversation going on in here while
Mhm.
there's right, because we could do that. We start thinking something here while they're talking and we're looking at them, but something else is going on here. So
Yeah.
quick tip.
Yep. Yeah, that's a huge deal. Recommit, you guys. Bring yourself back to where you need to be, right? So, okay. I love it. All right, you guys, we will catch you next Friday, 10:30. Enjoy your week. If you guys have questions, please, please let us know real quick. And I think I got like 3 minutes where I can cover this. It looks like Heidi put something.
Oh,
Oh, okay. It's not even a question. So, but yeah, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so here's what I tell people, Heidi, is that, I don't want our last relationships to create our current relationships. And unfortunately, like, that relationship, a lot of times we're human, so that has so much power over us to where it starts creating, um, a scenario where we can't be what we actually are made to be, kings and queens, right? So go get your crown back, put it back on, and let's go do the thing. And that's kind of like the visual that I want you to be able to have in your mind, where you're constantly being able to go get your crown back, put it back on, and interact that way. So yeah, good luck with that, and I hope everything goes well. All right, you guys, enjoy your day, and we will talk to you soon.